probably a big bracelet. I have quite a lot of nicknames. I kind of self-tag. No one actually calls me them, but I'm gonna make it a thing one day that everyone actually just starts calling me them. No, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I find it. I'm starting to think me and Berkey might be each other's luck charms, and maybe we're just meant to commentate on each other's events. So maybe does the
Maybe that little
commentary on the
feud.
2K or something, you know?
I was gonna say maybe the feud brought out the best in both of you. Of course, let's go back a couple of weeks, and you had quite possibly one of the greatest days of your poker career. Not only did you win your first World Series of Poker bracelet while you were live streaming it, but you won the $215 event the same exact day. I
Yeah.
What were the feelings going? I mean, we saw it. A lot of us were watching that
Um,
stream. We saw the how
yeah,
ecstatic
yeah.
you were. Now that you've had a couple of weeks to kind of look back at it, what are you thinking about the whole thing?
Pretty surreal. I mean, I put myself in, that spot to win a bracelet, quite a few times. However, it's much different when you're in that spot online versus watching with the thousands of people watching you, and everyone being chastising any certain plays or not, and versus live where it's just a few people on the rail or whatever, and people can't necessarily see your cards immediately and stuff like that. It's a much bigger audience. It's a much bigger crowd. But I really, really like the pressure. I think if I wasn't streaming for 11 months prior, I think I probably would have been really fucking nervous, to be honest. But I now am kind of experienced with being in the spotlight for big events, and I really actually like the pressure now. Actually, really, I quite enjoy it. So I loved it. I loved every second of it. I love. This is why I don't like put it like a lot of people have put slow mode on or sub only mode. No, I want everyone to talk. I want to see the hype when I want a pot. If I lose a pot, I'm just I don't care. I love it. It's so much fun to me, and I'm glad I can be here to commentate on Berkey as well. I mean, this is just it's just full circle, right? This is
Yeah, I could
I
not.
heard somebody told
There's
me he
no
was
way we
deep
could have written
final
anything
100.
better than this.
Somebody
No
told me it was
doubt,
like
no
final
way.
100. I was like, I hope he makes the FT. This is just I've been watching for a while, and I was like, I really hope he makes the FT because it's just gonna be it's went full circle.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the game right now. The blinds are 80,160. Berkey, of course, there in the big blind. He is our chip leader with 11.6 million. No bracelets to his name. Of course, uh, he is here looking for number one. By the way, Ophir Moore, by the way, who was eliminated in ninth place. That was his fourth cash. He does take home $12,315. We are down to 8 players. Here's the 3-bet from Berkey. Back over to Y Money. Y Money, that is Wei Mo from
Yeah,
Catskills.
I was gonna ask. I know some of the players at the table, but I actually don't know. S dot is some kind of reg. Hate Me has been chip leader of a lot of events I've seen. I don't know who this. Actually, I do have a note on this person.
I've got
Uh,
names for you. That's what I'm here for, man. That's what I am
okay,
here.
I do have the name on him. Yeah.
Yeah, I am here for you, Poker Guru. I got it, man. That is Michael Policastro, who is Hate Me. He's from
Yes. Yeah.
Pennsylvania, has 149,000 in live tournament earnings, only 21,000 in 88 New Jersey. So he's just had a really great summer. And obviously
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
parlays into his first final table here.
He's made a couple deep runs with me, and I've seen him at the top of the lobby a lot. So I'm going to assume he kind of has a more aggressive style. I'm not really sure, but I would, I would. I don't know anything about Y Money. I've never seen the name. We just saw a 5x from Daddy P69. Good name. CT188 is a very normal rag. He plays all the time. Seems like a pretty solid player. I don't know all the names, like I said, so I'm gonna have to go with
But
you on this. But
well, we'll
I expect.
yeah, we've got Saum, we got our research staff on it, and he's pretty good at getting us all the names. If the names are available, they are there. Before we continue, though, one name we didn't have last night, inexplicable, nobody had it, amazingly, was who knew that we had a heads-up battle last night for the ages? We knew it was Ryan Lang, right? We knew Adopted Dog was Ryan Lang going for bracelet number
Yes.
2. Little did we all know, nobody
Did he
knew,
win?
that
Did he win?
Samadhi is actually Nick Binger, who ended up winning. Samadhi won last night. We didn't know that, obviously. And Samadhi won his second bracelet. That is Nick Binger, who won last night. Congratulations to him. We've got a raise from Berkey to 999, a 3-bet here. S. Dot is all in.
Good size from Berkey here. S. Dot being all in. Yeah, I mean, Y Money needs to be very cautious here. But we'll see.
He makes the call.
We'll see a lot of flats. Yeah.
The main pot is 3.2 million, side pot of 4,400. Please pipe in with any strategy you have. It's so quick. I don't have a chance to really ask you a question like I normally would in commentary.
We're probably going to
jump in.
Going to see a lot of checks by Berkey here. Y Money's flat and range should be, fairly. There's a 4K side pot, so there's not a lot of incentive for Berkey to be bluffing too much. Y Money has to be calling essentially. I don't really understand the 2x pot by Berkey here, but Y Money does have to call extremely tight. S. Dot's range is probably going with any pair, any ace 10 plus. Berkey's going to be 3-betting Y Money with a very wide range, as you should, because it's 1 versus 2 essentially. So
aces versus king, 7 straight draw does not get there. And S. Dot, well, he had a pair. He had not a pair. He had the pair. He had the pair.
There, yeah. I don't hate Berkey's play. It puts Y Money in a really tough spot on the flop. So I kind of understand the 2x pot. You don't really utilize that sizing very often. However, that does put him, if let's say he has pocket 9s or something like that, or pocket 10s, puts him in a really tough ICM spot.
By the way, S. Dot, sorry to interrupt. I just want to let you know, S. Dot 22, that is Steven Russo, who just tripled up to 3.1 million.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I was gonna say he's a very common reg. I see that name quite a bit.
Yeah, trying to get all these names for you, fine people here. CT188, you said he was a well-known grinder. That is Guo Liang Chen from Philadelphia, has over 1 million in career live earnings. This is his 6th cash of the series, his 3rd straight. And he came in first place in 2017 WPT Borgata main event for 789,000. So you might be familiar with him from that.
Yeah. I see him a lot online quite a bit. He plays all the high stakes stuff as well. So quite a lot of these. We see a flat for Berkey here. I mean, this could be. We should be seeing a lot of checks from ST. You should be checking, not necessarily the range, but close range here. However, he does decide to go quarter pot.
At 285,000, action on Berkey right now. Pot is 1.39 million. Once again, Robert Kuhn, poker guru, aka Bustin' Balls, who is the current leader in the clubhouse right now. He is the leader in the 100K thing. There it is. Let's get back to the action, though.
Close.
Super close. I'm sorry, cashed, by the way, today, Ryan
Torgerson. Trust me, I'm sweating it. Yeah. So we see a raise from Berkey. Like I said, I think CT probably needs to be checking close to range here. Berkey with the raise can take advantage of the fact that CT probably needs to be checking. However, he could be exploiting the fact that exploiting his own fact that Berkey takes it out. So.
Yeah, Berkey up to 12.7 million. CT 188. Once again, that is Guo Liang Chen folds. By the way, Y Money is our last woman standing that we know of. There might be somebody else at the table that we're not aware of, but we do know that YMO is a woman.
Oh, nice.
So blinds 80,000, 160,000. Once again, thank you for joining us here. Bit of a hectic beginning. But we're here, busting balls alongside me for the commentary.
Yeah,
I've been enjoying.
We lost somebody right away before we actually got live. Panda 15. Do we know who that was?
We do actually. That was Ophir Moore. It was his 4th cash. Finished in 9th place. Takes home $12,315. It happened so quick that just the transfer over from Jeff Platt, and of course Jeff Platt just crushing it this entire month. And he's been starting every day. He's been a lot of fun. And just in that transfer period, we lost a player.
Yeah, I had a fun night on the Ingram was streaming some PLO, and then he rated Jeff Platt, and I already knew I was doing this, so I was this has been a fun Twitch night for me. This is And I was rooting for Berkey to get there.
Ace Queen versus Ace 3. Hate Me is going to absolutely hate that flop and that result. And Hate Me is gone in 8th place, takes home $15,903. And then there were 7. Berkey one closer. By the way, Melissa in the chat says, this is the universe's way of saying that you and Berkey should actually be friends.
Which chat are you reading, by the way?
We are on, oh, by the way, just so you know, yes. Those of you who are joining us on YouTube, Facebook, fantastic. If you want to join us on Twitch, by the way, Twitch is where I am following the chat. And in the chat right now, I can see Baroche Taylor, Appleman1984, Efro, what's up, Efro? Disco Chad, Mike Munier, Puppy Butter 73, King Dodds, King Snipes, and the rest of you. I Need Weed. Thank you so much for joining us. Not me personally, but him in the chat clearly does. Blind still 8160 for another 3 minutes.
Very
but anyway, yeah,
hand.
Melissa's mentioning that you and Berkey are apparently
I mean, I'm
supposed to be friends.
This might just be fate. This might just be fate. I mean, he might be my best friend by next year. I mean, at this point, we might be each other's good luck charms. I mean, you really don't know. This could be fate. I've had a lot of Twitch, let's say, rivalries or enemies that I've become very, very close with. So. Berkey could be the next. Could be the next.
This could be the start of a beautiful story, Rob. I mean, this could be touching. I might cry.
No, this could be. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to be able to understand each other because I'm a bit of a redneck and he's his lingo is a little bit different than mine. But we both understand poker on a deeper level. So
Hey, opposites attract. I like it. Special K333 all in. He's gonna take that one down. Does not get looked up. I'm very quickly looking through all these names, by the way. Special K, by the way, is Kevin Calenzo.
Did you see how that Ace-3 hand played out? That was disgusting, by the way.
I did, yeah. If you want to go through it though for the crowd and the audience, that would be fantastic. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was Hate Me flatted out of the small blind. So with ICM, with Ace Queen suited off 30 bigs, I'm probably not going to flat out the small blind very often. ICM is a thing, however, it's kind of an overrated thing. Off of 30 bigs, Mr. Final was the chip leader, raising from the hijack with Ace 3. That's obviously a very wide raise, but a very fine raise at an FT. And then Hate Me leads the Queen at 3-3-2 club board, and then shoves the 8 of spades turn, which I don't think either things. So I don't like how I played it. I think you should just shove pre, but that's just a hell of a cooler on that flop.
Yeah, I mean, Ace Queen versus Ace 3 on Queen.
Yeah, it's about as gross as it gets, especially when it's the double flush draw board, and the guy just happens to have Ace 3.
Obviously, super unlucky for Hate Me, and Mr. Final T obviously reaps the benefits on that particular one. He's up to 10.8 million, currently second in chips. By the way, Poker Weather let us know in the chat that we actually went to 8 on the final hand. We lost 10 and 9 on that final hand.
Oh, okay, that's what happened. Because I was watching and the table went away, and I was like, oh, that was weird. And then I gave you the so we have a Berkey raise, and we have an 8 big blind shove. He does not have to call here, actually. In these kind of spots, it's actually beneficial to have shorter stacks. But he gets flopped almost dead, but he just has redraw outs. In these kind of spots, it's probably a little bit more beneficial to make tighter folds, although it's an 8 big blind shove. Having the power of allowing people to be short in these kind of spots allows you to raise a lot more, right? So if there's a guy with 5 big blinds and everyone else has 20 big blinds, you basically essentially get to raise every hand. It doesn't really matter what your cards are.
Right. So just to put it in layman terms, if there's a guy who's like on his last breath of air there, and the pay jumps between 7th place and 4th place is $29,000. Daddy P69, CT 188, they're kind of handcuffed. They can't do much until the short stack either doubles or gets knocked out, right?
Right. I think I would have laid down Berkey's hand, particularly in that spot. However, there are some other short stacks he's, I mean, it's not like it's a bad call or anything. It's obviously going to be a plus chip EV call. Personally, I like to keep the shorter stacks in and allow myself to raise a lot more pots and allow a lot of people to make ICM mistakes. The big thing with FTs is that a lot of people overplay ICM, so they end up overfolding a lot, especially when there's let's say there's an 8 big blind stack or a 6 big blind stack or whatever. You can actually raise fold to a lot of those stacks, believe it or not, because the benefits of, yeah, sure, it's a chip EV call, and of course it's going to be a plus EV call. You're not reaping the benefits of all the times that you have to raise and get a fold. That was interesting. We had a 3.5x from almost a 4x from Daddy, and we had a shove from CT, a snap shove, putting a lot of pressure on Daddy P69.
Good stuff here from Robert Kuhn, aka Bustin' Balls, currently number 1 in the 100K leaderboard. Obviously, there's a lot of money at stake in that particular spot. We'll talk more about it during the break, but I do want to get your take during the break, just in terms of, is it important for you more than the money just to be the winner?
Oh my God, yes.
It is, okay.
It's not even, bro.
So I was going to say, I mean, the difference between first and second on the leaderboard, I was looking, I believe first gets 18,000 and second gets 12.
I'm a fairly low volume grinder, to be honest. Maybe I play 3 or 4 times a week, and I try to play very quality poker. But I've played 26 days straight. I've never done that in my entire life, not even in college. On Adderall or anything. I've never done that in my life. So I want Player of the Year so bad. It's the difference between the 6,000 versus the 12,000 versus the 18,000 is the difference between, like, to me it's hundreds of thousands, just to have that, because this is a spot I'll probably never have again in my entire life. It's a spot that I'll never be able to, because we're in such a unique spot with COVID. Obviously, WSOP is happening online. I'm not a big volume grinder when it comes to the WSOP. There's a lot of private cash games I play. As you were at the Mirage last year, so you saw me in several of them. You came with Demon a few times, but I play a lot of private games during the series. I play, basically only the bigger tourneys during the series. I think last year I might have only played like 5 or 7. So I'm probably never going to win Player of the Year or Player of the Series or whatever they're calling this. So this means a lot for me.
Got an all-in here and a fold. Sorry, continue on.
Yes, this means a lot for me, and that's why I'm grinding every day. Today I played absolutely atrocious poker. I was very, very tired. I regged. I didn't want to play. I basically punted 3 bullets, and then I took a nap. And then now I feel a little bit more recharged, and I'll be ready.
Well, your loss was our gain. Obviously, we're loving the analysis here. Alan Miller 55 says Kuhn is the real deal with poker analysis. That's what we're trying to do here. Obviously, some nights we're gonna have a different flavor of guest. Obviously on Friday nights I do it by myself, and then every once in a while we get the likes of Robert Kuhn and some other people obviously out there who can really drop the knowledge, which is pretty awesome. Norman Chad says, I get along with Mr. Kuhn and Mr. Berkey because I am great live and online. I understand both approaches.
I love Norman. He came in my channel the other day when I was deep in something, and he was just shooting the shit, and we had a really good time. It's just fun, he's a legend, right? I mean,
we got an all in here. I'm going to interrupt you so I can call the action here. CT188 going to raise. Special K333 going to move all in and take that down. By the way, Mr. Final T, who is currently second in chips, that is Nicholas Kiley from Utica, New York. Not far, actually, from where I was born and where I went to college. And only 57,000 in career live tournament winnings, 10,700 on 888 New Jersey. But Mr. Final T is now our chip leader with 11.8 million chips.
Wow.
It's also significant, by the way. And Robert, I want you to touch on this for a second. I'm going to call you, by the way, everything. I'm going to call you Bob, Robert, Bustin' Balls, Poker Guru.
There you
everything.
Go.
All in here from Daddy P69. Mr. Final T is on Berkey's left. How significant is that?
Huge, absolutely huge. If I'm Mr. Final T, so this is my approach to pretty much every final table. Oh, aces, that's pretty good.
Well,
Um, well,
fives versus aces. Daddy P looking for a 5 on the river. That is not a 5. 10 of clubs on the river. And Berkey with the elimination and back in the chip lead. He's
what
back up to
spot for Berkey?
14.5 million.
Wow, it's going quick. Yeah, so if let's assume that hand didn't happen. If I'm Mr. Final T, I would be. Although I don't know if you necessarily want to attack Berkey. I don't think he's necessarily a player you want to attack. He's not going to just let you run over him. But let's say it is a normal. Regular or somebody that may be like a lower stakes player that you know has like a low average buy-in or whatever, and your final table or your chip lead and you have second on your right, you want to attack them a lot. Obviously, those are the spots that are going to be, and we're going to be seeing Berkey do this a lot
Right.
to
you, by the way,
players.
Robert, to your point, though, I mean, I think the first thing you said was probably spot on. I can't climb inside Berkey's head. I could text him and ask him, but I don't know exactly what he's thinking. But here's a guy with over 4 million in live earnings. I think at this point in his career, the bracelet is far more important than laddering up 2 spots.
I think Berkey's going to try to play he's just going to play strong, aggressive poker. He knows how to play a big stack. He's going to be raising probably most hands. And if these guys don't adjust correctly, he'll simply run them over. And most of the time, people don't adjust correctly or know how to adjust correctly. So,
I mean, it's scary. Easier said than done, Bob. I mean, in the sense that if you see, that's I'm working on all the names in there. You like that? It was seamless, right? It was absolutely seamless. That's how I do it.
You shook me. You shook me.
In all fairness, so it's easier said than done. Okay, obviously, poker is a game of out adjusting your opponent and continually making adjustments as your opponent makes plays. But it's very difficult and easier said than done because if you make the wrong adjustment or you pick the wrong spot against Berkey, you're Daddy P and you're out in 6th place and you just made yourself, I'm sorry, 7th place, and you made yourself 20,800 instead of coming in 3rd and making $67,000. So I mean, it's scary, right? To take on the table bully and the chip leader.
Sort of. So
Okay.
there's two ways of going about FTs, right? And we just saw a 3-bet to 3x. We saw Berkey raise to 400,000 from under the gun, and Mr. Final T, which is a great name by the way, 3x to 1.2 million, or 3-bet to 1.2 million. I personally like attacking the chip leaders at FTs. I do this at final 2 tables, final 3 tables a lot when I am, let's say,
got it all in here. Stop for a second. CT 188 opens from the small blind, little blind on blind battle here. CT 188 went 3x. Berkey said all of it.
I think this is, if CT doesn't call here, I think this is probably tragic. I can't imagine many hands 1, 2, 3x / have a fold range here when Berkey's going to be applying a lot of pressure here.
Well, let's go one more level then. Robert, one more level then. If CT knows that, if you're saying that and CT knows that, I assume Berkey knows that as well. Can you go on the next level and go, well, Berkey's moving all in, fully knowing that he's going to get called?
Right. So Berkey's not just shoving any too, right? Like that, Berkey very likely has a hand there. I have his stream up, so we'll find out here in a little bit. I haven't actually. I do want to see that hand. However, I don't think CT, just simply for ICM, I think you want to play probably a limp only range there. And if you do have, like, let's say you have a hand like King Queen suited or something that might play well as a raise, you would want to be limp calling rather than limp shoving rather than raise folding, because getting your equity denied by a hand like pocket fours is just tragic, right? You definitely want to see a flop and or check raise Berkey off his equity. It doesn't make sense to be having much of a raise fold range against Berkey there, as you're going to face a lot of aggression, and you want to be basically limping range.
So you're going to be limp folding, limp shoving, limp calling. with pretty much your entire range, in your opinion. And that makes sense, I think, especially when
Yeah.
you've got a chip leader on your left and a chip leader who is, very aggressive, and another three bet. Berkey is just absolutely relentless at this final table right now. 6 players remain out of a starting field of 2,115. Joining me tonight, the much more verbose Robert Kuhn. Last night we had Phil Ivey. The guy didn't say a word all night long. Tonight, Robert Kuhn has been.
What?
Thank you. You've been really eloquent with your
Wait,
thoughts and your analysis.
who did you have last night?
We had Phil Ivey on last night.
Are you serious?
Yeah, yeah. He didn't say a word
No,
though.
you had Phil Ivey on last night?
You missed it?
No, dude, I went to bed so early. I was so tired. You had
How did
Phil
you miss
Ivey
the
on last
show? You missed Phil
night?
Ivey?
I'm. Are you trolling
I mean,
me?
he literally didn't say a word though.
Of course, he's never spoken. You know how many words he says in a year?
That's
Probably
what I
less
mean.
than
So I mean,
20.
that's what I mean. I mean, we got him to do commentary, but he wouldn't say a
How
word.
the
So it was just.
hell did you get him to do commentary?
Hey, I know people,
That's
man.
amazing.
I've got digits. Okay. Dude, I can't let this go on any longer. I'm messing with you.
There's no way.
I mean, I did do the Phil Ivey.
Way.
I did the Phil Ivey
Oh,
shtick last
so
night. Like I was like,
so
"Hey, Phil, how are
dull.
you?" Anyway,
Oh,
we do
so
have
dull.
Robert Kuhn. Can we see Robert just so everybody knows you're actually real?
I am the real person.
You are a real person. I'm not actually. We're not
I
playing this out.
am a real human. I am the
There,
Boston
yeah.
Bob.
I think it's great that you were like, you really got Phil Ivey. Wait, he didn't say a word. I had you.
I'm so gullible. I'm so gullible.
You seriously are.
God. No,
6 players remain. All 6 guaranteed $27,637. People in the chat wondering what jersey I'm wearing tonight. One of the few Jets jerseys I'm actually proud to wear these days. I am a very disgruntled fan, and I should be. But anyway, I'm a disgruntled Jet fan for many, many reasons. And this is the pride of Hofstra, Wayne Corbett.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, this is we're going to be seeing a lot of raises from Berkey. His VPIP is going to be wow. We see a 3-bet from CT 188 out of the big blind. This is extremely strong, especially with the stacks. However, he makes it a very small sizing, so Berkey can peel here. Berkey has a hand like Jack 10 suited or Queen Jack suited, King Queen off, for example. I mean, even King
Does
Queen
the
off plays
sizing Does the sizing
Um,
give us any information about the hand he might be doing this with?
It should be with this sizing. This should be pretty nutted. You don't really, to be honest, in theory, we don't really actually have a 3-bet here. We basically only play a shove. He may be doing this as a complete exploit against Berkey with a hand like, let's say, aces, particularly aces and kings. With that said, I don't think like a hand like ace king would ever want to have a 3-bet here. I think that'd be pure shove pre. I think a hand like queens and jacks, pure shove 3. I'm going to assume this is a very, very nutted range, and I would say it's very heavily weighted towards aces.
Well, this is if he's got aces or kings, he's loving this flop. Jack 6-3, very disconnected. Berkey makes the call. Jack 10, though, that's a hand you mentioned. That just got there.
Yeah, I mean Jackson suited would. We only have 2 combos of this, and I think Berkey would even flat jacks and 10s pre because of how strong this is. I'm finding it very weird that CT has to check on the turn, unless he is randomly trapping Berkey with aces, which could be a thing, but it's the SPR is low. I mean, we have an SPR of like 0.6, so
check 7 of diamonds on the river. Keep going with the analysis, my man. I'm just going to call the action for you.
I think we should be seeing a lot of shots from CT here. If he has
checks again, ace-7.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That is not a hand I expected to see there. He's up to 7.1 million. Berkey's probably mouth agape, probably doesn't understand what just happened, but he's down to 12.6 million. Still our chip leader, but that was a really peculiar hand the way it played out from pre-flop all the way throughout.
That's suicide. That's yeah. There's no other way to call it besides. Now A7 it can be a 3-bet, right? Like that is a hand that we're going to want to 3-bet at a very low frequency. However, he made it a sizing that allowed Berkey to call a lot of his range, right? So he's now allowing Berkey to realize equity with hands like Queen Jack suited, Jackson suited. He must have ran very, very good that Berkey didn't have one of those hands. But I think also on the turn, he needs to have a lot of shoves. Even though, it seems tragic when we shove ace high and we get snapped by jacks unsuited, we have to remember how many combos of each of these hands there are, right? So there's only 3 combos of jacks, there's only 3 combos of tens, and there's only 2 combos of jacks unsuited. So we're only running into 8 combos of value hands, and we look like we have aces or kings. So his range looked very strong, and then he kind of gave up. I think Berkey would be in a really, really tough spot if he did have a hand like, let's say, King Jack, and probably fold quite often, as maintaining chip lead is worth infinite more than making some kind of marginal call off.
Berkey raises the button. Special K says, not so fast. He moves all in. We continue on 6-handed. All these players looking for a World Series of Poker bracelet and $149,000 up top. Thank you all for joining us. Poker Weather is on top of it, of course. Berkey is also streaming this on his Solve for Why YouTube channel. Feel free to check that out if you want to. Berkey, by the way, apparently had King 4 suited that time he went all in against CT 188. We got an all in here. Ace Jack versus King 6. Gut shot does not get there. And Mr. Final T doubles up S.22 to 4.3 million. Mr. Final T still comfortable in second place with 9.8 million as we continue here.
Good shot as well.
Robert Kuhn, David Tuchman calling the action for the World Series of Poker Online Bracelet Series, and what a magical series it has been for Robert Kuhn, aka Bustin' Balls.
So Berkey does. Never mind. Okay, I thought he did have the King Jack. I wanted to see what he peeled with when that guy 3-bet the CT 3-bet.
We'll probably get that on like a 3 or 4 minute delay. I would assume we'll get that hand in like 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know how long his delay is for YouTube or whatever. He ran very, very unlucky to not win that hand by that guy having a 7. He definitely could have peeled like an ace queen, ace king type of hand pre as well, and the guy simply just 3-outed him.
By the way, special shove. Yes, they're good call there. Special K, by the way, Kevin Calenzo, who I mentioned, has 1.47 million in live earnings. He's all in here for 3.3 million chips. He also has 2 circuit rings.
Oh wow! Got a call from Y Money.
Y Money calls ace queen versus ace king. There's the ace 2 diamonds out there, not relevant anymore. 5 on the turn brought us some chop outs. They did not come, and Special K is out. Kevin Calenzo, with 1.47 million in career live earnings, has just picked up a 6th place finish here at the World Series of Poker Online Bracelet Series. He'll earn himself $27,637, and we are down to 5. Sorry, 5.
Great shot by Special K, and obviously a great call by Y Money there. So yeah, I mean, nothing, just kind of a cooler spot. These kind of spots happen in poker. Actually, really, we see a limp on the button by Y Money. I think this is actually a thing. This is an adaptation that you need to have against aggressive players that you're going to be 3-bet a lot. You've been Berkey's 3-bet Y Money several times, so I think this is actually we're playing 40 big blinds effective. You do have some limps. I think this makes a lot of sense, and we want to bounce. Pretty much our entire range here. If we're going to develop a limp range, we need to be bounced, right? So I think limping on the button here is definitely a thing, and I like to see that. I like to see.
I'm a big fan, Robert. I'm a big fan of. I watch so much poker, and I'm such a big fan of watching players think outside the box, and try different things. And it's funny, just like 10, 15 years ago, limping on the button was like, what is this guy doing? What are you even thinking here? But it is definitely a thing now. Got a chat here. Norman Chad says, my thought process on the Pirates over. I have a well-publicized bet with Norman Chad on the Pittsburgh Pirates. I have under 25.5 wins. They are 0-2. Norman Chad says, if Tuck goes under, I go over. What are you doing out there, man? You doing dishes? You doing dishes or blowing your nose? Yeah, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll mute my mic. My roommate just came out here. I'm sorry. I didn't think you'd be able to pick that up. I'm sorry.
I was wondering what that was. I was like, what is going on?
He was grabbing some water. I'm sorry. I didn't think you'd be able to hear. No, that's why I turned off my AC. I'm glad I don't have my AC on because you guys would be hearing that. It would annoy the hell out of your chat. Trust me.
Anyway, Norman Chad goes on and says Tuck's wagering history is checkered at best. He made a prop bet once that the USA would stay at 48 states. No, Norman, that bet I made on the United States staying at 48 states. If that bet lasts a lot longer, and I still can win this. I mean, there's a chance the U.S. might go under 48 states again. Okay, so I haven't lost that yet, you son of a bitch. Anyway, Robert, let's take a look at this leaderboard and let's talk about this for a moment because this is huge. $100,000 online bracelet series leaderboard.
This is everything.
The World Series of Poker giving away $100,000 to the players who are performing the best. It was never in the bag, obviously, because it's a long series, it's a long month. We have a bracelet event each and every day in the month of July, and certainly, huge names here. Tony Dunst is 7th. Art Vandelay has had an amazing summer. Roland Israel Ashvili, who's in 5th place right now. Michael Leck, what a summer he has had. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but I'm sorry.
Ryan Torgerson. Just every tournament.
Unbelievable, yeah. Well, Pringles 12 is that's Roland. That's Roland Israel.
Oh, Roland. Okay, yeah.
That's Roland. Joey is a mush. Everybody doing great here. Fan of the poker, Joe McKeon.
That's a student of mine. Ryan DePaul, I've been coaching him for the last few months, actually. So
okay.
It's good to see him. I was so happy for him.
Did you teach him how to win in a parking lot?
No, I didn't know
he didn't do that
in a parking lot. I didn't. I don't even understand why he played in a parking lot. I don't think he knows why he played in a parking lot. I don't understand why he just didn't get an Airbnb or a hotel and play in Jersey. Like I didn't understand any of that. But I wake up.
Clearly, he wasn't that confident. I mean, obviously, he just wasn't that confident. He figured, okay, I'll go in the parking lot. I'll play for 4 or 5 hours. I'll get knocked out, and I'll drive home.
Honestly, I think it's like one of those things. I bet he is such an interesting guy. Talking to him, he's so. I was just talking to him earlier. He's so unique and such an interesting person that I could see him looking at a Whole Foods parking lot, being like, "I bet that's going to run good today," and just going to park there and just doing it for the run good because he's. A lot of people in chat love when we've had a couple of famous slot streams when he comes out to Vegas. We're both big gamblers, and people kind of like our slot streams. So every time he comes out to Vegas, it's kind of our thing. But I could see him being that guy. He's like, you know what, this Whole Foods is going to run good, and so he did it, and he won. I mean, just what an incredible story.
Yeah, no, for sure. And your story obviously is an incredible story. Ryan Torgerson, he's in 2nd place right now. He accomplished what I now call the Ryan Torgerson, which is coming in 2nd place and then the next event winning it.
That was
just an amazing. And then if a week later, 10 days later, he comes in 3rd. So he has a 1st, a 2nd, and a 3rd in just 25 days of events.
Absolutely.
And yet he is still in 2nd place because every single time I look up on Poker News, you've got chips. You're top 10 chips.
It's hard to take me out, baby. Take me out. I've been very sticky and very fortunate to run as well as I have in these. I think I have probably 10-ish cashes and something like 7 top 30s or something. We got a 1st, a 4th, the 15th, the 19th, the 27th, and like a few top 30s and maybe 10 or 11 cashes now. So. There's points add up, and I don't really know exactly how they're doing the point system. I think it's heavily weighted towards the buy-in. So I mean, ideally, I think where you might see a huge leaderboard shift when the 2K happens, because whoever runs the 2K, if they are on that leaderboard, I think they might take over. If they make a deep run, I think that'll be a big shift in the leaderboard. But there's no days off for me. I love that I'm sorry is grinding out there every day and making me play my best game. Although I played like shit today, I'm not gonna lie. I was really tired. I played horrible. I'm refreshed. I took a nap. I'll get a good night's sleep tonight, and I'll be ready for tomorrow.
Hey, it happens to the best of us. 3 days ago, one of the worst commentary experiences of my life. I was terrible. My performance was just not up to par, not what I normally expect. So, you know what? I hit the showers, I get a good nap, and I'm back to it, man. I'm here. Once again, you guys are watching event number 25, the $500 No Limit Hold'em final table. This is the final 5 players, S.22. A bad time to have some connection issues but he appears to be back. Battle of the blinds here and the battle of the big stack. Berkey raises from the small blind. Mr. Final T folds, and we continue on. These 5 players all guaranteed 36,851. Some people in the chat wanted to just double check. Are you in Nevada or are you in New Jersey?
I'm in Las Vegas. Yeah, I've lived here for about 4 years now. Yeah, and what I was going to touch on, Berkey will probably be raising blind versus blind strictly. You're not going to have many limps against the guy in second. You're basically going to be playing a raise-only strategy with the bottom of your range and the top of your range. I don't think he's going to have, and Mr. Final T, unless he adjusts accordingly, he's going to have a hard time playing against it. It's not an easy thing to play against when the first is coming at you and coming at you relentlessly. It's not easy to play against. But now we see a 3-bet from Mr. Berkey to Y Money, who's 3-bet a few times to a smaller sizing. Y Money has been raising quite a bit. So yeah, I like this 3-bet. This 3-bet sizing is definitely fine as well.
Yep, you opened to 480,000. There's a 3-bet, a call from Y Money. A lot of spades out there. Spades are cheap. Queen 10 deuce out there. Check from the original raiser over to the 3-better. Berkey 11, solve for Y. He is our current chip leader. He has been that pretty much throughout. I believe he relinquished the chip lead for 1 hand only.
And what did we see on flop here? I missed
check.
Flop back. That's interesting. I think the hands we're probably going to want to check are probably are either our traps, are like aces with the ace of spades, or some of our nut flushes, or a pocket jacks, or something like Jack 10 with the jack of spades. I think these are going to be our normal checks, and then we see a bet on the turn by Berkey. So it's kind of interesting. I don't think I think the ace of spades probably just goes for the bet. So that's going to be an interesting one to see.
We continue here. Toiling about, Robert Kuhn, a.k.a. Bustin' Balls. A couple people in the chat says, I love the competitive fire for the leaderboard. That's Aaron Miller. Kuhn is in to win it. No, you got to love it. And, we're all competitive. And it's one of my favorite things each and every summer when I'm usually in Vegas covering it at the Rio is the player of the year. And I have spoken to the people that are in contention each and every year about that. And to a man and a woman, they want it. They want that player of the year honor. It's huge, and it's great to see that you want it.
It's massive. It means, I can't describe how much money it would be worth. I know it's worth technically 18,000, but getting second for 12,000 would be. We have
got an all in the call here. Ace king versus jacks. Ace or a king eliminates S dot. It's a deuce of spades, and S dot 22 doubles up to 7.8 million.
This is going to get interesting. Now look at the stack. Now look at the stacks. So now I think every single player here. If I was at the final 5 here, I would be trying to aggressively take over chip lead. Berkey's probably going. Berkey's still chip lead. However, we have seen Mr. Final T. Well, that's a large raise. Whoa. I thought it was a misclick. This guy's a reg, I believe, right? S dot.
S dot 22. I will get you as much information as I know about this particular player. S dot is Steven Russo, from what I'm gathering. 77,000 in career live earnings, only 4K on 888 New Jersey. I don't think. I mean, based on his poker resume that I am looking at, it does not appear that he is a professional. Could be a big cash game player. We don't know. Yeah. That I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're just not going to see a professional 5X very often. With that said, he took it down. So we've seen Mr. Final T 3-bet Berkey a few times and take over chip lead because of it. I find that very interesting that he's attacking the chip leader, which I personally love. These are the kind of things I would be doing myself, as I think there is so much value inherently regaining the chip lead. Now, with that said, it is, like Berkey's, not somebody you just run over. If this was a different chip leader, if this wasn't Berkey, if this was someone else, You can attack them, a little bit more liberally. With that said, this is going to be a very interesting battle because we have a lot of people that can very easily become chip leader in one hand. Every single player can become chip leader in one hand.
For sure. That is the voice of Robert Kuhn, Poker Guru. You can watch him on Twitch. He live streams all the time, does a great job, very entertaining. His chat is even quite welcoming. I mean, somehow they have embraced Norman Chad, which
Yeah.
I'll let it
I've
slide,
heard
guys. But that's cool.
chat.
No, Robert Kuhn here, busting balls, has been having a great summer, and we are lucky enough to have him here. Berkey betting 1.1 million on the turn against CT 188. Jack of clubs on the turn. This pot was 2.25, so he's betting half, and it gets through. And Berkey right back in that commanding chip lead position again, back up to 11 million.
I'm just gonna go ahead and replay the hand here. I just want to see. Let's break down these hands a little bit.
Do your thing, man. Poo Dog Melissa, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think the world of Jeff Platt. He just does an amazing job. You guys, if you guys have not been following his stream, he leads right into. Hang on a second. He leads right into our stream here. Starts every night at 10 p.m. Pacific time, and he literally takes it right into the final table, where you can watch this on YouTube, Facebook, or of course on Twitch. And a big shout out to my man Jeff Platt, who has just been crushing it all summer long. We are still here for another few days. Friday is our last event, July 31st, the $1,000 main event. Maria Ho is slated to be my commentator guest that day. So make sure you join us on Friday night, Saturday morning, probably.
We say a limp and a bet by CT here. Slightly interesting. He doesn't bet the turn. He definitely has by far the most ace-x in his range, because he should be trapping almost his entire ace-x range. And we see a turn bet by Berkey. Berkey can have all of the flushes. So if CT is trapping here with a hand like ace 10 or pocket tens, or decide to limp a hand like ace 2, which would be completely reasonable, I do think he would probably be checking here. The one thing I did not expect to see was too many check folds. I would expect a lot of double barrel bluffs there.
I will tell you, from my perspective, it almost appears CT 188 and Berkey are like playing like street poker. I mean, that hand earlier on that was 3-bet, that was so odd with the ace 7. Do you know Berkey had 9-6 there?
What was the action again? Sorry.
That was the strange 3-bet where we thought CT 188 was going to have like, aces, kings, just be super, super strong there. And he showed up with ace 7. Berkey had 9-6.
What, the suited, I assume?
I don't know that. That I don't know. And by the way, I can't even confirm that he had.
This
is according to chat.
This is the old big lick. I mean, oh wow, look at this. Like Berkey
all
can't
in
call.
For Mr. Final T.
Berkey can't call, basically. It's so sick. Wow. I am loving how Mr. Final T is playing. This guy is playing fearless poker. This guy came here for the bracelet, and it's very obvious that he's completely fine with risking his turn of life against Berkey, which is not, like I said, I've said it before. I mean, this is not an easy guy to run over.
No, not. It's the one thing about Berkey, though, to your point, I mean, you're talking about Mr. Final T here. I know Berkey, though, every time he gets kind of, slapped, every time he gets caught with his hand caught in the cookie jar, he goes right back at it. It almost invariably, he raises the next hand.
Right. And as one of the more experienced players at the table, he should be. Especially against guys that are a little bit less experienced, like maybe S. or Y Money. I don't know Mr. Final T. However, he's kind of made it obvious, unless he's just getting hit with the deck, that he is not putting up a shit. And CT188 has played some pretty kind of hood poker himself with 3-betting the A7 and showing the willingness to kind of go for it a little bit. So, the players, I would, it's going to be a very interesting dynamic between Berkey and Mr. Final T going forward. And, ST's not out of this either, or CT's not out of this either. I mean,
no, not at all. Let me ask a couple questions here. Tough Turf says, who is S. That is Steven Russo. Don't know much more about him. Has about 100,000 in total earnings. Berkey's going to win that one. He's up to 12.2 million. The gentleman you were talking about, Mr. Final T, the player that's really impressing you, that is Nicholas Kiley, who has 57,000. The player at this table, besides Matt Berkey, who probably has the most experience, is CT 188, who, as I mentioned earlier, has a WPT title to his name.
So it was 9-6 suited. Okay.
There you go. And that is Guo Liang Chen, who has over 1 million in career live earnings, nearly 800,000 of that in a 2017 WPT in Borgata.
And we see a shove by Mr. Final T over CT. He should be CT doesn't have to worry too much about ICM as a short stack. He can be raising his normal range, but as we see, Mr. Final T does not care regardless and still shoves over.
Rob, question from Stray Cat, which it might be a little bit dated right now, but still I want to get it out there. Stray Cat 1284 says, Rob, is ICM pretty much on hold for now while everyone is pretty even? That was obviously a question probably asked about 2 minutes ago before CT went from, say, 6.5 million down to 3. But yeah, let's assume everybody was closer in chips. What does ICM mean then?
Right. So, Mr. Since they're so deep, like this is actually a fairly deep final table. We're seeing Mr. Final T attack Berkey again. This is like very, very interesting. I like that. Obviously, I like that Berkey should be raising here most of the time. Right now, obviously, ICM is a thing because CT is short. So CT has basically no ICM pressure. Mr. Final T is 3-betting Berkey to take over chip lead, which allots him now to be raising more. The one thing that we're seeing from Mr. Final T is a lot of 3-betting and shoving rather than actual opens and playing post flop. But it's working. I'm guessing. Berkey just hasn't had a hand to necessarily call a 3-bet, but Berkey's, eventually will have a hand and they'll play probably a big pot, if I had to guess. But if you're S dot and Y money here, you're going to be playing a little bit tighter because you have the same stack. But let's say CT doubles up here, then everything goes back to normal. I personally, it's deep enough that I'm not going to be making tighter folds and or opens simply because there's a little bit of ICM. But if since everyone can effectively open and or call a 3-bet, we don't need to worry about playing too tight here.
We had a check on the turn. Action on Berkey now. Pot is 2.6 million. Certainly would not appear that either player has even an ace for sure. Maybe somebody's got a 10 the way this played out, and Berkey's going to say, let's play for all of it. If you have a 10, I'm going to put you to the test. I mean, CT's hand kind of looks at best like an 8 or a 10. Ace 3. Wow. Well, he's got to call with ace 3. That's just a monster. Wow.
Yeah. Very easy call. Let me replay this hand here.
Please replay. So I want to hear your analysis because the way that hand played out, the fact that CT, I mean, give him credit. The fact that CT did not get it in on the flop and then didn't bet the turn or the river and gave Berkey enough rope to hang himself. He fooled me. He apparently fooled Berkey too, because I don't think Berkey's trying to get an ace to fold there ever.
No, and I think that's actually perfectly played by CT. I think you should against aggressive players. You do need to be trapping rather than check. I think a lot of people get scared and say, "Oh, there's a lot of draws. The Queen Jack, the Jack nines, 9-7s, diamonds." Of course, he unblocks all those. However, you still have a very good hand, and Berkey is going to be putting a lot of pressure. You do unblock all of that. On the river, the river really changes nothing. Berkey probably ends up either checking back king queen on flop and or maybe going for a small double barrel. So I don't think the river really changes much. Berkey turns probably one of his best. I guess I don't think he really gets the river with many hands because he probably checks back most of his 10x, right? Because CT still has all his ace-x in his defend range. With that said, I think Berkey having hearts is inherently a very good thing because you want your opponents to have diamonds.
Right.
in these kind of spots, right? You want him to have backdoor spades. So let's say he has 8x of spades or 10x of spades. So Berkey does have a good bluff candidate. However, he has a weird bluff line because he doesn't necessarily take this line with a hand like, let's say, pocket jacks or Jackson suited. Most of those hands are going to be played as a check on the flop, or a hand, like king queen. Most of these hands are going to be played as a check, especially a hand that has backdoor outs, like king queen of diamonds, perhaps maybe.
We got a
But
raise, we got
anyway,
an all in here for Berkey, and a
yeah.
fold. One thing, Robert, I want to ask you this because I'm primarily a cash game player, but one of the things that I always I always kind of fall back on is trying to figure out what my opponent is trying to accomplish. And obviously, the best players in the world are always going to disguise what they're trying to accomplish. And CT188, well done. I mean, trapping his
Yeah.
opponent with a hand as strong as he had. Obviously, he's
It
never going to fold
was
an ace there. The question I have is with Berkey's line in that particular spot. I mean, I'll put you on the spot here, but with Berkey's line there,
no, I love
and
the
that
spots. Trust me.
that over bet on the river, betting pot, it certainly looks like I'm trying to get my opponent to fold.
It just looks, to be honest, I think it's just going to be weighted to way too many bluffs. I mean, the thing is, he does have hearts, which is nice. So it gives his opponent more diamonds. He actually unblocks a lot of his opponent's range. He blocks the king queen, which is nice. He unblocks the 9-7, the diamonds, the backdoor spades, the 10x. But even if I have a 10 here, very decent chance I call, to be honest. I don't really.
Well, that's the only thing. I mean, if you had, let's say Berkey backed into a hand like, let's say he had king jack, right? So he hits a jack on the river. I feel like you could probably bet that for value because your opponent's going to have more tens and not that many aces. At least that would be my thought process. I would clearly have been wrong. But I'm not betting that much. I'm probably betting smaller.
Correct. You're probably block betting. So once you polarize your range to the pot bet, you have to assume, unless you have a very, very good read on your opponent, that you're not giving your opponent enough respect to trap the ace X there. And I think that's the logistical flaw here.
Do you think there was anything to it, the fact that CT188 showed up with ace 7 earlier on, and Berkey probably broke his laptop because he was like, I should have bluffed that on the turn. I should have bluffed that at some point. I mean, do you think did that hand affect this hand, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, every hand always leads up, right? Like, it's interesting that ace 7 hand was borderline suicidal from CT, to be honest. His sizing was very, very small. His sizing is really not a thing in poker, especially in ICM poker. You don't really have a 20 big blind 3-bet range out of the big blind. You pretty much play a pure shove or a pure call. If you have a hand like aces, you can probably call most of the time. Or if you have a hand like ace king or kings, it's just going to be a pure shove. You don't really have many pure. You don't really have many 3x 3-bets unless you're really trying to go for an exploit. But now you're trying to exploit a player who's going to, if he's calling you with 9-6 suited and you're 3-betting ace 7 off, you are going to make a massive mistake because you're now allowing Berkey to realize a lot of equity in that hand. So I mean, it's still a 60-40. Like it's.
By the way, at this final table, it appears that nothing is going Berkey's way. I mean, he's lost a chip lead. But meanwhile, we're down to 5 now, and Berkey probably only has about $1 million less than he started the final table with. So
yeah, he's still fine.
He's fine.
Yeah, I mean, we're still going to see a lot of aggression on Berkey. I don't think he necessarily needs to slow down by any means. A couple hands didn't go his way. A couple hands were very interesting with Mr. Final T playing. So this is kind of the nightmare when you get to the final table and you assume that there's always the different opponents, right? So every FT is a unique situation. You have guys like, you would look at Mr. Final T and you would see 57,000 in the Hendon Mob. You would think this would just be a very, very scary spot. This would be like a spot you just want to run over a guy, right? However, Mr. Final T has made it very obvious he's not going to be a guy you get to run over. And when I played heads up against the RLK Aces guy, I had to quickly adjust how I was going to play. So he was playing very, very tight, and then he started, playing a lot of pots against me, started 3-betting me heads up a lot, and I was just like, kind of running me over for the first, 30, 40 hands. Then I have to readjust because
Right.
players readjust all the time. Some
Well,
people
that's it,
start.
and that's the game, isn't it? I mean, the best players in the world are constantly
Right, right.
adjusting to the different dynamics and different opponents that they have. The player you've been talking about, of course, Mr. Final T, Nicholas Kiley. He's had a lot of success at the Run It Up Reno series that
Is that
Jason Somerville runs each and every year. Obviously, this year it is not going off, but if you've never been, such a good time, so much fun.
I I actually booked it this year. Yeah, me and Melissa, we're gonna go, and obviously, the whole COVID thing happened, so it's pretty unfortunate for us. We see a
Yeah.
limp from CT and a very, 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 very small ISO from Berkey here. However, they're only playing like 20 big blinds effective, and we see the limp three bet from CT and takes it down pretty.
CT back up to 7 million, Berkey on 10.3 million. Why money are only woman left in the field is
Good
our
for her.
short stack on 4.3 million. Blinds are 142.80. So, we're not like deep stack poker, but compared to what we have seen through the first 24 days of this month, the players have some play in there. I want to thank you all for joining us in the chat. What's up, Rich Prodigy? Over in 1987, Hyper Poker. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. I saw somebody in the chat. I forget, where was it? Somebody said that they would crush this final table. I have
Yeah.
no doubt. I have no doubt that at least 80%, 80% of the poker players in chat would crush this
Yeah.
final table. I know
You
it
gotta,
because
you
you
gotta love
guys
the chat.
are
That's
the
right.
best.
Gotta love a chat, bros. Trust me, I get them all the time. Although I do have a very nice chat. I see a lot of. Trust me, I am reading a lot of you guys. I see a lot of you guys complimenting me, and I do appreciate it. I do have a very Alchemy 1984 regular in my chat. A lot of these guys coming in here. I do appreciate all the compliments. I am trying to read as much as I can, but I'm also trying to do a little bit of commentary as well. But
By the way,
thank you guys for
kudos to
being here.
you. Kudos to you. You are our first guest. This is event number 25. We have been here each and every night in the month of July, and you are the first guest to utilize the hand replayer on your own computer. We can't do that here. We just don't have the time. If we were to replay a hand, we would miss 6 others.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we don't have that capability. But you can do it right there, and you did it. So well done, you.
Yeah, I think it's very important because sizing is very important in poker, right? So I'm watching this live. I'm not watching your, although I guess I should probably be watching your stream a little bit more. But I guess no, you are watching this. Oh yeah, you're watching this live as well, I guess, since we're on delay. But yeah, I'm just trying to look at the sizings and see the different adjustments people are making, and that gives me a little bit more info on how each player is going to be playing.
Berkey and CT 188 should get a room. These guys have
They're
played so
playing.
many hands together. CT 188 does fold the big blind there. We haven't seen that much. We haven't seen that happen very often. And Berkey back up to over 10 million. CT 188 will
what
not
we
go
haven't seen
away.
yet? We haven't seen an open from Mr. Final Two. We've only seen three bet and we've only seen shove. So I'm curious if he is. Well, one, he's very likely just getting some very good three bet hands. I wonder if he's just kind of been hit with the deck and the three bet spots, or he is just more of a tight opener. Now we're seeing the CT dynamic again, where he's going to be limping close to range, I would assume. We may see the back to back three bet here. I would love it.
This time we see a
This time
call. So the limp raise, there's a call. Last time, as you said, it was a limp 3-bet, and he took it down. This time he just call. Flop is ace 4-3. Pot is 1.5 million. CT checks. Action over to Berkey. He's going to bet three-quarter
quite
pot.
quite a large sizing by Berkey here. I think we probably just want to go third pot always. The thing is, CT has a lot of ace X that he doesn't want to limp three bet. Like let's say he has a hand like ace five. These are, since Berkey's not really raising that big pre-flop, I don't think we necessarily want to be utilizing large sizes here.
Wow, all in. There's a call. 3-4 versus the aces.
Wow.
CT 180. What a cooler. What an absolute cooler.
Wow.
And Berkey is down to 2.8 million. CT 188 up to 15.7 million. The trap with the aces. He flops a set. Berkey with 2 pair.
That was wild. That was just
it's pretty
wild.
sick when you flop 2 pair and you're drawing dead. Never a good thing when you get the chips in. What a hand that played out.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Berkey's all in.
No, I will say going back on the sizing by Berkey on flop, that is actually a spot where you do want to utilize a big sizing. So the fact that he did have a big sizing there makes a lot of sense because when you have the bottom two pair and or like let's say you have a set of threes or fours and you know your opponent's going to be limp calling a lot of ace X, you unblock all of their calling range. So that's actually one of the times you do want to use a big sizing. And we see another Berkey all in, and we have a call from
Berkey all
Mr.
in.
Final T.
Yep, Jack 9 versus King 10.
10.
There's a 10. There's two 10s.
Oh my
and
goodness.
Matt Berkey, solve for why, hits a jack on the river. It is irrelevant. He is out just like that. Came in as the chip leader. He has gone in 5th place. He'll take home $36,850, and then there were 4. Yeah, that sizing on the flop was really interesting. Ace 4-3 rainbow. You just don't assume you don't assume somebody has that many 4s and 3s. But I guess if you're putting sets of 3s, sets of 4s, and 4-3 in your value range of that sizing, and then I guess occasionally you're putting like 5, like a gut shot with a backdoor flush draw.
Correct. Inherently, I went back on the hand here and I brought it back up. Inherently, I thought it was a mistake. Just looking over it, but when you unblock all of the ace X, you actually do want to use big sizes pretty much always. So I think Berkey sizing was fine there because CT is going to have a lot of ace 5, ace 6, ace 7, ace 8. Some of his middle-ish ace X that wants to call and Berkey wants to maximize his EV against and protect, and then he shoves his turn, and then we just see the ultimate cooler. So that was very unfortunate for Berkey.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, once he raises with 4-3 and CT decides to just flat with the aces, the chips are going in. There's just no way out. I mean, the flop's ace 4-3. Good luck. Bye-bye. Good night.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's because it's very easily CT can just have ace 8 and he's going to call. And he's going to see the bad news at 3-4 and hope to get there. But that's rough. That's rough.
Pair of 7s here for CT 188, and he's up to 19 million. He is our chip leader, Mr. Final T, who has been so impressive throughout on 15.7. And if you're S.22, if you're Y money, you've just got to be thrilled because you just made yourself an extra 13,000 at least by laddering up.
I don't know if you caught that. That was a very small 3-bet by Mr. Final T in that last hand, and the King 7 made a very standard call. Very standard open, very standard call. And then we have a 1/3 pot bet by Mr. Final T on the flop, and we have a check call, and then it goes check on the turn and check on the river. We can't see Mr. Final T's hand, but the King 7 of spades took it down. So I'm kind of interested in what Mr. Final T, I wish we could see his hand, but I guess we can't.
Yeah, unfortunately or fortunately, cards are down for the live streams of the World Series Poker Online Bracelet Series. It kind of goes back to 2012 and 2013, where we get a lot of. In some ways, it's a different learning experience.
Yeah,
I feel like sometimes we get a little complacent when we can see the cards.
Yeah, you know what? I actually kind of like it a little bit more because I get to talk a little bit more theory based than actually seeing the cards. I don't have I can't have a skewed bias when I can't see the cards. So this is interesting. So this is going to be very interesting. We're going to see a lot of. I think CT is probably going to open it up wide, and Mr. Final T. These guys are playing very, very deep stack poker. I think both these guys are going to be raising quite a lot. And S. and Y money here are just going to need to be playing kind of, not necessarily, they're around the same stack. So, obviously there's a little bit of ICM. Now that S. has kind of taken over a little bit, he's going to be a little bit tighter now than Y money, and Y money only has, like 11 big blinds or whatever. So, we're going to be seeing a lot of aggression from CT and Mr. Final Table until one of the short stacks busts, and then we'll see,
Mr. Final T in good position once again, because every time CT 188 folds, he can certainly put a lot of pressure on the short stacks. S-Stop, by taking that one down, gets him up over 5 million chips. Y money all in here. By the way, referencing the pay jumps, $18,000 pay difference between third and fourth, certainly significant. Keep in mind, if you're used to following each and every summer those World Series of Poker events where the pay jumps are 30, 40K, 100K even sometimes, This was just a $500 buy-in. So,
Yeah,
$18,000 pay jumps are enormous.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So Matt Berkey, 2 final tables in 2 days. Unfortunately for him, neither one had the storybook ending he was hoping for. And CT188, who
Yes.
already has a WPT title to his name, can he get a World Series of Poker bracelet to his name? All 4 of these players are looking for their first World Series of Poker bracelet. And of course, $149,000 up top. Robert Kuhn, a.k.a. Bustin' Balls, #1 on the World Series of Poker leaderboard right now. How does that sound?
Sounds great. And I'm going to pat that lead tomorrow, my friend.
Are
Trust me,
we?
I'm going to get a
Okay.
good
You're
night's
calling a
sleep.
shot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We see a 3X from S. Dot, putting in about 20% of his stack, and a Mr. Final T shove. We get a
There's the
call
call.
from
King, Queen, Ace-8. Need a king or queen on the river. Not going to happen. S.22. Well played, Stephen Russo, with under 100,000 in lifetime earnings. Just won himself an additional 50, basically $49,554. We are 3-handed. CT 188 on 17 million. Mr. Final T on 21.8, and then you've got Y Money on 3.4 million. This is very much a go back a while. A Joseph Chung, Jonathan Duhamel, they had 95% of the chips in play.
This is wild.
And then you had
This
John
really
Reisner, who somehow figured out a way to get in second place.
Right. Yeah, this is really wild. Interesting to note that CT opened a different sizing that he has been opening. He's been opening to min, and that last hand he opened to 2.2x. I think that's a little bit of a sizing tell, and probably not something you want to do in general. Generally, when players do that, they're doing it to put a little bit more pressure on the shorter stack, and they're doing it with a range that wants to call. So they're not raising their most nutter range. They're raising hands like King Jack or like King 10 suited that is just going to raise call. I don't think that's an adjustment you want to make. I think you just want to raise your standard range and not deviate your sizes.
That is Robert Kuhn, aka Bustin' Balls. Battle between the chip leaders here. 7.6 million in there already. Ace of Diamonds on the river.
And this is one of the second or third. Let's see what happens.
Jacks are good here. CT 88, CT 188 in the chip lead now at 21 million.
So very interesting situation here with the ICM. So massive amount of ICM when it comes to CT versus Mr. Final T. If you didn't catch that, CT didn't 3-bet jacks out of the big blind here, even though they are very, very deep. He was covered by Mr. Final Table, and we've seen Mr. Final Table do a lot of 4-bet shoves. I think that's a good adjustment. We allow Mr. Final Table to have a lot of high-low type of hands like Ace 4, Ace 5 that just don't have a lot of equity against jacks, and we also have a less than 10 big blind stack player. So we need to be flattening jacks here a lot more than 3-betting, which I think is completely good.
It makes a lot of sense. Obviously, if he does raise, if he 3-bets jacks out of the blind and gets 4-bet shoved, he has to call, and then he's hating it. If he's up against Ace King, Ace Queen, one of those hands, you're talking about a $25,000 pay difference between second and third.
His sizings he's using here are very, very odd. I think he needs to be going much, much bigger. The less than 3x sizing out of the big blind is not really a thing. You need to be putting a lot of pressure on Mr. Final T. Something around he's making 600. I'd be making something like 2.5 million.
When you say not a thing, Robert, when you say not a thing, I just want to play devil's advocate, and I want to get your input on this. When you say not a thing, I mean it's poker. I mean there are many ways to find success in poker. There are many ways to skin a cat, so to speak, right?
Well, no, I'm saying it's not a thing because it's actually not a thing. It's not a thing in theory. If you were to run this hand in any kind of sim, you're not going to see a 3-bet from the 2 big blinds to 5.4 big blinds, whatever he's making. That's why I'm saying it's not a thing. Sure, it could be an exploitative play. However, I'm going to try to stick with the the most standard. Obviously, there's two ways to play poker. Obviously, and the best players will play both GTO and exploitative.
Maybe he just does this with
However,
ace-7 every time.
was this the 3-bet hand?
It was another three. It was another 3-bet hand. It was the weird sizing. Last time he had weird sizing, he had ace-7. I feel like maybe it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm going to use really weird sizing every time I have ace-7. I'm kidding, guys. Sort of.
Yeah. Also, it's also a7. It's just not like I like putting a lot of pressure on Mr. Final T. However, I think a7 suit is going to play a lot better as a call rather than although when you do size up really small, you do allow him to call with a lot of worse 7x. So it does have a little bit of merit to, you do allow him to call all of his 7x suited, all the way down to, 7-5 suited probably. So I guess it does have a little bit of, it's a bit of an exploit, and it's something I would be picking up, and I would be probably trying to punish the sizing. However, it's an interesting sizing to use. That's all I'm saying.
Chat is up in arms. Keep it friendly, guys. We're all in this together, okay? We're all in this together. It's 2:37 in the morning here on the West Coast in Nevada. 5:37 in the morning. We're playing for a bracelet. Got $149,000 up top. Let's have a good time. Let's love each other. It's all good. Come on.
Okay,
I'm a Jet fan. It can't be worse than it is for me. I'm a Jet fan. Okay, guys. Let's keep it friendly. We got a raise here. A 3-bet and a fold. Mr. Final T up to 17.9 million. Y Money still sticking around. Once again, that is Way Mo, who has over 100,000 in career live tournament winnings from Catskills. Kind of, I don't even call that upstate New York. It's kind of like middle state New York.
Just to answer chat a little bit. As for the people saying I'm trying a little hard, I stream pretty much every day. I talk strategy every day, so this is my normal lingo. I'm not a professional commentator on the actual action. When I stream and commentate, I talk pretty much the way I'm talking now. Is things are things, and certain spots are a theory, and you can prove that via bio or preflop ranges and stuff like that. I'm not trying hard. I just am just trying to talk about the different spots and the different exploits and the deviations from theory we're seeing that could be very good, actually.
I like it. That is Robert Kuhn dropping some knowledge tonight for sure. Once again, you are watching event number 25. We're down to our final 3 players. Y Money, our short stack, not involved in this hand, and she is just a curious observer. And each time CT 188 and Mr. Final T, Mr. Final Table battle, Y Money is just hoping, hey, get into a big pot, get a cooler situation. Let me ladder up and make another $25,000. Y Money, by the way, Final Table the ladies event back in 2018.
Nice.
So this is her second World Series of Poker Final Table.
She's a player.
5 deuce, 2 pair here for CT 188. And he's up to 25 million.
I'm liking this deep stack battle between Mr. Final T and CT. I think this is going to be very interesting. Obviously, Y Money's just not in the greatest spot. Just going to be probably playing just the chippy V shove spots. There's absolutely no ICM to worry about, and we do see a shove, effectively shove.
Right. Yeah, she's betting 1.5 million here. Obviously, never folding. I don't even really understand the point of this when you're 3-handed.
Honestly, I sometimes, I sometimes do. I actually kind of like it, making it a bizarre sizing because it throws people off.
Okay.
People that aren't necessarily good. Trust me. There's.
I mean, is she folding? Let me ask you this: is she betting 1.5 million there? No, but is she folding? Let's say CT 188 goes all in over the top, and then Mr. Final T goes all in. Is she folding then to try to ladder up?
Yes.
Okay.
Then you can fold. So this is what you see at the higher stakes levels. This is why they always shove one all but one big blind, because there can be a scenario where it goes like bet call or something like that. With that said, I think Y Money is doing the weird sizing to basically throw off how many big blinds she has. And to be honest, it works on me quite a bit. People do like these kind of, if they have like 12 big blinds, they make like 8 big blinds. And I have to figure out the math really quickly if, it's on a site that I don't have it in big blinds.
Okay.
I think it's smart.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my point was it makes sense to me, and we've seen it be done over the last few years. Makes a ton of sense to me when you're five-handed, six-handed, three-handed a little bit less so, just because I figure it's more likely to go Y money raising, CT 188, like re-raising but not moving all in. Then Mr. Final T moves all in, and then Y money doesn't know what CT is going to do, and it's like probably going
Yeah.
to call off anyway.
Yeah, that's a spot where, Y Money could put in, a million or whatever, and then it goes shove shove, and then Y Money can fold to second,
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
ideally. But also just confusing them with their sizing. If they're, it's a weird blind level. It's 320K. Let's assume Y Money has like 4.5 million, and she makes it uh, 2.7 million or whatever. It's like now you have to figure out how many big blinds she has.
Hey, that
Very,
last hand we just saw, the last hand. Can you play it in the replayer? I was listening
yes.
to you and I was just mesmerized by your voice. We're talking about all that. Did Mr. Final T not bet the river with ace eight?
Let's go and see what happened here. So we had
Yeah,
a
check it out.
min
He had
raise.
ace eight there, and I don't think he moved all in.
Oh, we have
All
it
in here.
all
Pocket
on a
threes
call
versus
here.
9-6. A
Yes,
diamond could save her, or a 3 or a 4, and it's not going to happen. Ace of spades on the river, and we are heads up. Why money? Well done. Your second World Series of Poker final table, third place finish. She earns herself $67,300 and has every reason to
congratulations.
hold her head high. We are heads
Great.
up. The loser of this
Well,
heads up battle will take home 92,000. The winner 149,000. So we are playing a heads up match for $57,000. And of course, a World Series of Poker bracelet, CT 188 with the ... Mr. Final T does not reciprocate.
I find the dot thing very funny, by the way. For what it's worth, that hand went CT raised to a somewhat unorthodox sizing of 700K, which is like 2.2x pre. Mr. Final Table on the Ace 2 6 board just defends. It goes C bet half pot on flop. I don't really think you want to see bet half pot very often on the Ace 2 6 board. However, CT does. And on the turn, it goes 10 of spades, it goes check, check. And on the river was the Queen of Spades. I wish I could show you my screen and actually show you the hands.
Yeah.
It's a little hard to describe.
I got you.
CT bets 1/3 on the river with Queen
Okay.
7.
Okay, I got you. So there was a bet from CT and a call.
Yeah, and I think it's way too thin of a bet by CT. I don't think you really get called by that much worse, especially when the backdoor spades fill, because you can still have 2x spades and 6x spades. And I think Mr. Final T is going to have a lot more ace x in his check back range than CT is ever going to have in his value bet range. So I think that's a inherent mistake from CT there.
Well, speaking of ace 8, it pops up again. This time CT's got it. He's got top pair on that flop, and that holds. He's up to 25 million. Mr. Final T on 16 million. You can do the math and figure out very quickly. We've got about 41.7 million chips in play. Again, these players playing for $57,000 and a bracelet.
This could be a very long heads-up match. This could be a very short one. I mean, they're playing 42 big blinds effective, so this could go for a very long time. Love the 3-bet sizing here by Mr. Final T here. I think this is like right on point about where you should be.
So we're going 4x there.
Yeah, I like it. Probably see a range bet from something like 2 million from Mr. Final T here. We see the 2x pot. The hands I'm going to assume Mr. Final T is probably doing that with is very likely either some kind of big draw, the ace jack of hearts, the ace 10 of hearts, and or some kind of like ace king that just has a lot of equity. I don't think it's going to be nutted too often because it's not a lot to worry about with the aces and kings. However, he takes it down.
This is going to be a fun heads up battle as these players virtually even. I mean, CT 188 with 22 million, Mr. Final T on just under 20 million. Another 3-bet, same sizing. Back over to CT 188 on the button.
Love it.
And this is something we noticed from the start. I mean, Mr. Final T wasn't opening that much when he was getting involved. He was coming in, guns a-blazing. He was coming in with the 3-bet. He was playing him aggressive.
This is what I was talking about earlier. When you get heads up, let's go ahead and talk about this hand quickly. We see the very standard 4x 3-bet Mr. Final T in the 8-4-4 board, we should see a 1/3 pot. He goes for the half, which is completely fine.
This pot's getting big there, and Mr.
Fold,
Final T.
So this is tough
now
for CT.
in the chip lead.
Yeah, so this is tough for CT. He doesn't know how Mr. Final T. There's two types of players when you play somebody heads up, right? You have the guys that generally want to just make hands, or you have the guys that just really, really go for the glory. Because at this point, they have $92,000 locked up, and they're really thinking about the glory rather than you have one person to beat. So there's the people that wait for hands, and there's the people that play like maniacs. And right now, we're seeing Mr. Final T just kind of just steamroll. And it's not an easy adjustment, and it's not an easy adjustment for CT 188. And this is kind of what happened to me when I played heads up. I played a guy who 3-bet me like every hand. I was like, what the hell? What is going on? And
right.
it's a tough adjustment to make.
I would assume, Robert, even tougher heads up, because you can't kind of like, you're not playing a full ring game. You can't hide. You can't get out of the way. You just got to keep going in and try to think. Okay, and there's also a question of leveling yourself, thinking, okay, well, is my opponent getting out of line, or is the deck just hitting him in the face too?
It's you just don't know, and that's the thing. How I play these spots is I play my normal game, and then I'll let 30 or 40 hands pass and kind of see what happens. And then if I see that this player's just getting completely out of line, I will deviate. I'll do a lot more limping. I will I'll start to fold a lot more buttons or limp a lot more buttons.
So by the way, I'm taking notes, Robert. I'm taking notes. If you and I ever actually do play against each other, I'm taking notes. Okay, first of all, I'm gonna raise odd amounts to confuse you and make you do math, and I'm gonna play really kind of out of the box for about 30 or 40 hands, and then I'm gonna expect you to make an adjustment, and then right at 30 or 40 hands, I'm gonna go back the other way.
Hey, I like it. There's multiple ways to.
Gumball 05 says, Tuck, don't try to start drama. Mr. Final T did it first, and CT returned the favor. Okay, I stand corrected. Apparently, Mr. Final T did the ... first, and then CT 188. We'll assume they said, congrats, you're awesome, good luck. Who knows? Of course, WSOP has eliminated all chatting, so it's all just ... Who knows? Bumbalam 999, I'm happy.
Wish they didn't do that, but yeah, we saw a limp there, and CT takes it down post. Very, very small pot. I think there might have been just 2 bets, but one was like one big blind bet on the turn, and then river or something like that.
This is going to be fun. I mean, who knows how long this lasts? I mean, every time I always think these things are going to last 20, 30 minutes, but every time I think they're going to last a long time, we get a cooler and it's over. So, obviously my eyes are glued to the screen, but I'm enjoying watching this.
Yeah. I like this. Yeah, I like this. I like the different play styles we're seeing. We've seen some limp. We've seen some 4x bets. I mean, I think both of these strategies are both things. And it's completely reasonable to limp. It's completely reasonable to have a 4x bet. So I think we're seeing some pretty good play so far.
Once again, that is Robert Kuhn, a.k.a. Bustin' Balls, who is crushing this summer. We have been here throughout the month of July. Each and every day in July, there is a bracelet event. They all start at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And you can play if you are physically in Nevada or New Jersey. You don't have to live there. You just have to be there. Even a parking lot will do. Ask Ryan DePaulo about that.
God. What an amazing story. This has just been such an amazing WSOP with, I got to say, I forget his name. What is his name? MacDaddy 15 winning.
MacDaddy, Ron McMillan, MacDaddy 15 from Iowa.
A great story. And we see a 3-bet from CT here.
I've been saying this, Robert. I was actually mentioning, I said, I didn't know what to expect when I was going to cover this summer, online bracelet series. Okay, what's it going to look like online? Big pot brewing here, as you mentioned. But it has exceeded every expectation that I could ever imagine. It's been a lot of fun.
Loved it. This is why This is why the WSOP touch, because we always hear these
Robert,
stories. Got a big
clubs
pot
now,
here.
spades there, 9.3 million in the pot.
So yeah, I mean, CT's obviously. I don't know his sizing. However, I generally the hands you're going to want to bet here on the turn are going to be hands like, let's say we 3-bet a hand like Jack 10 of diamonds, something that blocks King X pretty well, right? You want to allow your opponent to have spades and clubs because that makes for a really, really good bluff on the turn. So we're probably going to see CT give up here, especially against the sizing and or check shove.
Well, action is on CT 188. Hasn't done anything just yet.
This is interesting.
Pot is 14 million. You're getting a little bit under 3 to 1.
I'm going to guess he probably has something like jacks or tens. I mean, this is potentially queens. I mean, queens would be a really tough one.
Jacks would be really good, by the way. If he had jacks, he's really happy right now.
Yeah, he's pretty happy. Let's see. I mean, queens obviously is such a good hand here because obviously blocking king queen is very relevant. Unblocking, especially if you have like queen of diamonds, queen of hearts, you unblock the spades and clubs that Mr. Final T can end up bluffing. So it would be we'll probably end up seeing a call on the river by that specific hand, but let's see if we see
there's the all in.
See all in.
CT calls. If CT calls and loses, it's over.
Wow,
the pot is actually 28 million, and it's 8 million to call.
This is like a brutal spot if you have like the 10 of hearts, 10 of diamonds, and like very. I don't think I'm ever folding. I'm definitely never folding king. I don't think I'm folding queens because we block king queen too well, and I don't think I'm going to be folding a hand that doesn't contain a spade or a club. So
there's the call. Wow, ace jack.
Clubs.
Wow.
And that ends it.
He picked up a club draw. He hit the jack on the river, but that just ended up costing him as he has gone CT 188. I mentioned them earlier on. Gentleman already won a WPT title and came one spot away from winning a bracelet. He earned himself $92,223. But you said it at the start. You know, this final table, it seemed to be all about Matt Berkey, right? Matt Berkey, 2 final tables in 2 days. He's a chip leader. But you said from the start, Robert, you were really impressed with Mr. Final T's play. Once again, that is Nicholas Kiley. Yeah, you were so impressed, right?
I think he played a really good FT there. I don't think CT wants to have clubs in his hand when he calls the river. Other than that, I think they both played a very. I really was hoping that would last longer. I was really enjoying that. Very well played from. I don't think Berkey really made any mistakes or anything. I think he got like very unlucky. Obviously, that 3-4 hand was disgusting. Cooler. That's about as sick as it gets when you raise 3-4 and it comes ace 3-4. With that said, I really enjoyed that.
That last hand, Robert. I want to, I got you for a couple of minutes, and I want to pick your brain. I want to climb inside there and figure out what's going on. With the ace jack of clubs, when you pick up on a king 4-4 board, obviously, you're not hating ace jack of clubs. You got a backdoor club draw. Then you pick up the club draw on the turn.
Right.
Can you check call a sizing that large? Because obviously CT really went. Yeah. He really went in the tank on that one.
Yeah, because you don't block spades, and you have ace high, and you still when you bet small and flop, you're allowing your opponent to float you with a lot of hands. Obviously, you have the implied odds when you hit the ace or you hit the club, and he probably still goes and bets the river. Mr. Final T made a very good value bet. I don't think CT needs to call there on the river. It kind of sucks. You do hit the jack, but you have to think about what your opponent's going to have. You don't want to be blocking clubs when you make a call on the river. Your jack.
I mean, that's the question I have for you. I mean, the question I have for you is on the river. The fact that he hit a jack, yeah, okay, he's got a pair of jacks now, and I understand that in the with all the hands that he might have, a jack is just a bluff catcher at that point, right?
It's a bad bluff catcher because you don't want to be blocking clubs, right? You want to allow your opponent to bluff clubs, although technically you don't want to be bluffing clubs in theory. However, I think most people do end up bluffing missed flush draws there quite often. With that said, I think the turn call is probably fine. I wish I could replay the very last hand. For some reason, it's not letting me because the table exited out.
Really, I mean, it was a raise. It was a raise, a 3-bet. A bet, a call, a check,
king 4,
a bet,
a call. 2 spades, right?
Yeah, king 4-4, 2 spades, 1 club, 8 of clubs on the turn, 8 of clubs on the turn, and then the jack of clubs on the river.
You can also check shove. You can also check shove the turn to completely deny equity from spades. It'd be completely fine play. But calling is completely fine. I don't think we ever fold. There's actually a lot of ways to play the ace jack clubs. You can block bet the turn. You can check shove the turn, or you can check call. The only thing we're not going to do is really fold. On the river, the only thing it changes is now we block more combos of king jack. He never has jacks in his range. So that's not really a concern. We just block king jack a little bit more. But we block backward clubs, which is not a hand we want to be blocking when we have a call range. So it's a pretty interesting final hand.
Yeah, the only reason I bring it up is because you mentioned that you're probably calling with two, like, let's say you have two red queens, so you don't block clubs or spades. You said you're probably calling with that specific hand because
For
you
sure.
also, you do block king queen. Now, if you've got ace jack there's a jack on the board, king jack, one of the hands that your opponent might have, but obviously king queen, king 10 are also in his range. And obviously was.
Yeah, basically, anytime you run a sim and you figure out your calling range on the river, you basically want to unblock all of their bluffs. You always want to allow your opponents to have the most
But you
bluffs
can't unblock
possible.
all of them, Rob. I
Yeah,
can't have spades
I
and
mean,
clubs.
well, right. So like that's why I'm saying queens. Let's say you have the queen of diamonds, queen of hearts. That would
Yeah,
be
that's
like
great.
your nut bluff catcher, right? You block king queen. You also unblock all the draws. That would just be like a high five call. Of course, it sucks because you still have second pair, and you can still have king jack and king 10 and all these king jacks. However, you want to unblock all of the draws when they, when they end up you basically anytime you want to decide a river calling range, you want to allow them to have the most bluffs possible. That's why you don't want to have clubs in your hand, essentially. This is kind of how we construct our range on rivers, and basically, essentially, like when we bluff, for example, any pot. This is why, like, let's say post
By
flop.
the way, keep going. But this is gold because normally when we do a show, we just end it when the final. But these shows are so quick that I feel like, hey, if I can pick your brain and get a little bit more analysis for another 5 or 6
I
minutes,
trust me, I
I
love
love it.
talking
So
about
please
strategy.
go,
This is
go,
what I
let's
do.
go.
This is what I do every single day when I stream. So,
Sorry,
and
Aiden.
I'll be doing it tomorrow when I stream as well. So for example, anytime you run a sim, right, you will see hands like, let's say the board is queen jack six or something with like two diamonds, and we have five of spades, five of clubs, right? And it's there's two diamonds and a heart or whatever, right? And we have black fives. This is a hand that we're going to want to triple barrel almost always, right? So let's assume the turn is like the two of hearts. Now there's two diamonds, two hearts, and we have black fives, right? Once we bet turn, we now allow him to have more equity because now he's going to have a lot more king tens. He's going to have some nine tens. He's going to have some backdoor hearts. He's going to have some backdoor diamonds. And if the river changes nothing, this is a spot where we go for a triple barrel bluff. And these are very, very effective because what ends up happening is we allow them have the most amount of draws in their range, and then they have to call, fold. And then you just absolutely print all your EV on the river. So you'll see oftentimes like ace X of spades or something do that where it blocks like the ace queen, and these are the type of bluffs you want to find, and the type of bluffs I'll be teaching you guys at ElitePokerCoaching.com coming out in 4 days. Sorry, I had to plug it. But yeah,
It's okay. It's okay. We appreciate the knowledge. We appreciate the knowledge. No problem with a plug, man. Hey, Robert. First of all, congratulations on your amazing summer. Good luck. The last 5, 6 days here. It's going to be a close one. You and Ryan are obviously just battling. It's coming down to the wire. Of course, Ryan Torgerson with a first, a second, and a third place finish. We can take a look at that leaderboard one last time and see exactly where Robert Kuhn is in relation to everybody else. Kuhn, though, is leading, and it'll certainly be a fun race the rest of this week. There it is right there. Bustin' Balls in first with 2,788 points. I'm sorry, on 2710. Ryan did cash tonight. I do not believe that is reflected in this. So he is probably just a few points behind you. I don't know.
There's a decent chance. I think he got 200 something. I have no clue how much a min cash is worth. He either is going to be up on me by a little bit or down a little bit, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to finish out strong.
I love it. I love it, man. I love the confidence, and we appreciate you being here. Your analysis was fantastic, and it'll be a lot of fun. We've got to get you back in the World Series of Poker commentary booth
Hey,
again.
my man,
Once
I had
again,
a great time.
we're back at it tomorrow. It's our last Sunday. It is the $500 No Limit Hold'em grand finale. I don't know why we're calling it the grand finale because it's not the grand finale.
I found it weird as well, actually. I was thinking about that.
Yeah, and because we have another tournament the next day. Anyway, we are back at it tomorrow. Tomorrow, I have Valentin Bornaku in the commentary booth. Monday, I've got Chris Moorman. The next day for
Nice.
08, I've got Melissa Burr. We've got Maria Ho coming up. We've got some great guests coming up this last week. You guys can stick with us and watch Robert Kuhn do his best to win first place in that leaderboard. Anyway, congratulations once again to Nicholas Kiley. That is Mr. Final Table, who is now Mr. World Series of Poker bracelet winner.
Yeah.
Congratulations to him and to all of our final tablists.
Really good final table there. Really impressive.
No doubt. No doubt. Robert Kuhn, I'm David Tuchman. For everybody here at the World Series of Poker and PokerGO, thank you. We are back at it tomorrow night. Good night.
Thank you guys so much. See you guys.